Sub YouTube. I've been gone for a while, and I always tell you guys, what I'm doing, and how I just don't have the time to be able to post as frequently as I want to. And I just kind of want to just make this video just an all-in-one video. I know that I have abandoned you guys multiple times, and I apologize for that. You guys, I'm just dealing with a lot right now, and it's nothing that you guys should be worried about. I'm just other priorities I have to take care of before I'm able to hop back in this camera and be able to, entertain you guys. But today's video is going to be a little different. I'm sure you guys heard about everything that's been going on with the passing of P2 is the name, also known as my cousin. And I just wanted just to be able to sit here and make this video. I had made this video a bunch of times, guys. I just have an issue just posting myself in a very emotional state. It's not that I didn't want to post a video at the same time, all my brothers did. It was just I had a hard time being able to sit in front of the camera and be able to express my emotions in a very deliverable way. But I just wanted to sit here and just be able to say a few words for my fans and for the people that supported P2. It was very tragic that this happened. Very unplanned. Death is never planned. But it was just very unusual. Happened for whatever reason. I have a theory of what happened and what went wrong with him, but I'm sure you guys know the whole story, the backstory about what happened to him and how he passed away in the mailroom. I guess I should just start by saying, you guys may not know, some of you guys do. The relationship I shared with P2 was very strong, very, very strong. And I would say it was that, just the fact of how many years that we've known each other. Phil is a cousin of mine, but he's not technically related to us. You guys know those family friends that you guys meet at a very young age, to the point where you guys get so close, you guys call each other's cousins. That's kind of how Phil was. So we kind of built our relationship into becoming like just, brothers throughout time, when we were younger and as we just started maturing. And I can say that it's grown every single year. And now thinking about it, like I'm just reminiscing on all the memories that we had shared together and how devastating this past really meant to me. I never had somebody who died close to me before, or at least this close. I had uncles, that obviously passed within my family, but we all know those uncles that, you're not too close with, but you just know. But I feel now the feeling that it feels to really have somebody really close pass. Guys, like I said, me and Phil are really close. He was my right-hand guy. I call him every single day. I'm still adjusting to I feel like I'm living a new life, like without him not being there no more. I'm still adjusting on just being able to, utilize that time I would share with him to doing other stuff that I have to put into myself. And just remembering the things that, he told me before he passed. I guess I should start by just talking about him and who he was off of the camera. He cared about you guys so much, and he had a plan. He was a guy with a plan that just executed it since day one. I remember when we were kids, he always had a plan to just telling me like, bro, yeah, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna become a millionaire. I'm gonna be the first millionaire in my family. And when you guys are kids, you guys are both sharing the same mindset. I'm telling you, I'm gonna be a millionaire too. But it's different when you're just seeing somebody who's just working so hard every day, and who really just truly believes. He truly believed that he was going to be in the position that he was in, and just being able to watch him mature and be able to put in the work to be able to see him elevate throughout his life is just amazing. But I think the most memorable thing to me is just how humble he was throughout the whole process. How he just never switched up on nobody. He never switched up on nobody. He kept his close friends. He made new friends throughout the journey, and you just know P2 or Phil was just a special person because everybody felt the same connection I felt with him. Everybody felt as if they knew him, his whole life, because Phil just has a just authentic vibe about him. When you just meet him, you just feel like you know a guy. I feel like you guys saw that throughout his whole journey of him just blowing up. And I think that's the reason why he built such a big fan base, because how genuine and authentic he was. He's very different from a lot of these other entertainers. He makes a lot of things happen with just the resources around him, friends and family, and just always just a positive guy, no matter how hard things get. He's always just been a positive guy, and whatever he's doing, just truly believed in what he was doing. And just, when things got hard for me or for any other my friends or brothers, Dominic, Tony, you guys know him, they would all just reach out to him because something about him, he just always knew how to go through hardship or adversity. He just knew how to face it all the time. And that was just because he just believed. He just always was a believer, in his craft and what he could make possible. And he made other people believe, I can't lie to you guys. I don't think I'll be here in this position today on YouTube if it wasn't for Phil. Same thing as my brother. He just changed lives. He just changed lives. And I truly do feel like God put him in this position to be able to change a lot of people's lives. I said I was in the cry in front of the camera. Sorry guys. I don't know why God took him from us, but I think as much as he was ranting about fulfilling his purpose, he made other people find their purpose. And, sometimes God puts people in your life to be able to serve a service. And I know now that he's looking down at me, he's thinking like he fulfilled everything he was supposed to, because he made all of us believe anything is possible if you just put in the work. And it just hits different when somebody close to you that really cares about you says that to you, because it speaks to you. Not just some guy on the internet just trying to speak motivational videos to you. And I have no hate for those guys, I just feel like a lot of people, when they hear somebody say, put in the work, it goes one ear out the other, or people take it for a week or anything like that, whatever the case is. But hearing it from, your brother, a guy who's just like you, breathes the same air, likes the same things, it doesn't make you no different, And so I used to watch him every day, just mature on his success, just be able to elevate on his success. And that, I feel like that right there made me feel it made me feel like I can do it myself, you know. And so every day now, it's been a month now, you know, that I wake up every day, you know, I just reminisce on the daily talks that we had every day off the camera about just how, you know, you can do anything you put your mind to. And he knew that I loved doing YouTube, but he knew that I couldn't be able to keep fleshing out videos for you guys and how I used to do it back in the day, you know, where I'd be able to entertain you guys, because he knew that I had bigger priorities I had to worry about. You know, at the end of the day, I'm growing up every single day, guys, and you know, I'm trying to make a living for myself. And you know, YouTube is not something that I want to be able to rely my resources on, and my financial resources when I'm speaking. So I had to go out of my way to go and build a career for myself, you know. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. But it's not that I want to give up on you guys. I always had a dream to be able to make content and be able to just make my life entertaining, you know. I want you guys to be able to be a part of my journey. I want people to see my journey. I want people to be able to see me hit goals and milestones. You know, I always want to do that for you guys. But, you know, at the moment right now, Phil knew that I had bigger things I had to take care of. And, you know, at that time being, I would just always just put motivation to Phil as he continued his journey with YouTube. And then he started to realize, I remember the time when he started to realize that YouTube was something that he felt like he couldn't do no more. You know, he said it in his new videos. If you guys go back and look, he felt as if he had to put on a certain mask, or whatever the case is, because people didn't like to see him for him. And I always told people, like, you know, you don't have to do that. You know, you can be yourself, you know. You can be yourself. You can tell these people, like, be able to speak wisdom into people. I was telling them that, speak wisdom into people, you know. And every day I would speak to him, his newer content speaks more value. You know, it didn't pull as much views. I know Phil was always big on just trying to be able to elevate his career and be able to expand. So he would always be so focused on his views, or if a video is like a 5 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 or 1 out of 10, it would just change his mood. But he stopped not caring no more. He stopped just wanting to be able to speak words of wisdom to you young men, you know, or woman if you guys are out there, and just be able to use words of encouragement and be able to be authentic and be yourself, you know. And so he realized that, you know, he's pretty much entertained you guys to the fullest, and he wanted to change his career. And, you know, he always had a creative mind. You know, before YouTube, he was doing a lot of different stuff. He was making clothing brand. He actually had a clothing brand named Wallet back in high school that he did before YouTube, you know, and then realized that he couldn't speak to a large audience because he didn't have the platform. So then he started doing YouTube. So it's just crazy to see that, you know, after a whole 3 years, 4 years of YouTube, how he's able to go back to his clothing designs that he started in the beginning of his journey, and go back to that and be able to make it bigger than what it was. The brand was called Don't Mind Us, if you guys don't know. And it just shows me that, like, God has a way of doing things, you know. He just has a way of doing things. You know, sometimes he has a blessing for you, but you have to be able to find it. You know, you have to be able to go through life and figure out the blessings that he has for you. You know, and one of his blessings was being able to be P2 as a name, right? Another one of his blessings was to be able to encourage other people, be able to make other people believe in what they can do. You know, being able to believe in, hey, this clothing brand stuff, that it was never that you weren't good enough. It was just, you know, you had a couple things that you had to do throughout the journey to be able to make this happen. And, you know, he made it happen. And it's just unfortunate that, you know, everything happened and him passing away. You know, a lot of people would say he had such a short life, but he's been through so much. He's been through so much, you guys. with his family. You know, I don't like to throw his family out there. Some of the information is already out there. You know, without him growing up without a mom. He actually did grow up with a mom, but he lost his mom in the process of his childhood. And so it was a single parent household. You know, he had 3 siblings. You know, I'm sure they opened up with his brother and what happened to him. He's now here, you guys. He's not, some of you guys just said he ran away. No, he's here. I actually saw him at the funeral, and it bring light into me to see his face and be able to see an older P2, you know. He doesn't act like him, but he shares some similarities with him. So that made me smile at the funeral, seeing his face. But he didn't have that older brother, you know, throughout his whole YouTube journey, you know. So he was doing a lot of it by himself. You know, he went through a lot of life at a very young age. You know, his sister was the mom in the household, but he never really, I wouldn't say took his sister's advice, but he was able to hear. He was a very good listener. He heard what his sister would say about certain things that he would do, decisions that he would make, choices that he would make. He heard his sister talk. You know, his sister would always go on hour-long phone calls with him, speaking about how he shouldn't do this, he shouldn't buy a house, he shouldn't buy a car. And you know, when you're living your life, you know, you always want to do your own thing. And I encourage you guys to be able to do your own thing in your guys' lives. Don't listen to nobody. If you truly believe in what you got going on, go ahead and do it. Because, you know, Phil did a lot of that. And, you know, his sister was just being cautious and just loved him enough to be able to say not to do certain things. And, you know, he heard it, but was able to be able to kind of hear it and still take his own initiative on it, you know, and still be able to orchestrate what he got going on with his life, because he manages a lot of stuff, bro. I still don't know how he does it, but you know, he just always had that fire belief in him that he can just accomplish anything that he put his mind to. It's really disgusting how crazy he can just speak something into existence and just make it happen. It's just crazy as shit. And if you guys don't have somebody with that mindset in your guys' circle, I strongly encourage you guys to go find somebody like that, because it's contagious. It just starts, everybody wants to be that person. Everybody wants to be what that person is. And that's what Phil was to me. That's what Phil was to Ryan, Tony, my little brother, and many more that you guys haven't seen on camera. You know, Phil was the blueprint. He was the blueprint. And for him to just to leave, it shifted a lot of things. You know, it strengthened relationships. It bring people that I didn't used to talk to close. You know, but I don't know why. I don't know why God does the things that He does, but we're not to question Him in what He does. We're not supposed to question Him on what He does. But, you know, when I heard the news of him passing, Tony had called me about everything. And I didn't believe him, because Tony comes off very sarcastic at times. I had the whole group, I'll probably say Tony is one of the biggest jokesters, you know. He loves to make jokes. And so when he called me about everything, I didn't know what to believe, you know. When you hear somebody died, you don't believe it at first. Your body believes it, but your mind is still like, you know, thinking about a million different things it could possibly be. And at the moment, I was at Chipotle. I was with my good friend Uche. And we just got done with a gym session, and Tony had called me, and he told me the information, and I didn't believe him. He said he had to go. He had to call me back. That he was rushing to the place where everything happened, and I didn't believe him until I seen his Phil's cousin CJ. He called me 3 times, and I knew it was something very serious for his older cousin to be able to call me. And I called him, and CJ told me the same information, that he collapsed. They're still figuring out what it was, that possibly he had a stroke, you know, and, you know, I didn't think he was gone yet, you know, but the first thing I did was I went to his apartment, drove all the way over there, thinking a bunch of different things. Um, and, you know, when I got there, everybody was there. It was a very rainy day, very dark. Just a very unusual day. It didn't seem real, you know, and I didn't believe it until they bring him out on the stretcher. I couldn't look at Phil at the time being when everything happened. I just seen the stretcher pop out. I didn't want to go over there. A lot of people were going over there to look at his body. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it. But I stood there that day and I was like just contemplating over my mind, like this is not real. This is not happening. You know, my best friend can't go because we were just having a conversation yesterday, you know? And that's usually how death goes, you guys. You know, you guys see somebody one day and the next day they're gone. It doesn't sit well. It doesn't feel real. But what brought comfort to me was the fact of how he was just really finding himself as a human being. And I know you guys love P2 and what he does, but I truly care about who the person that he is inside him, right? His soul, I truly care about him. And, you know, I just love the fact that how he just put God first. He put God first with everything. And, you know, you just saw him starting to get closer to Christ and God and how he was just getting closer to his word. And I remember being on hour-long phone calls about how to be able to grow his faith with Christ, you know, just a couple days before he passed, you know. And I made him watch a video about life after death. The crazy, I swear, I promise you guys I wouldn't lie, I'll screenshot it. I sent a video to him and he was watching it and he was just telling me how much he believes in what the guy was saying in the video, but he didn't believe a lot of things because, you know, you guys, none of us are perfect. You know, none of us are. But when he was watching the video, he was just like, nah, like, I sin a lot, Jay, I'm not gonna lie, I sin a lot, I did a lot of bad things. And I was like, man, I always tell people, bro, we all do a lot of bad things, but we do a lot of good things. We do a lot of good things. And I told Phil, I was like, bro, you did a lot of good things too, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure God won't look at you and not recognize you, you know. I was like, man, you do a lot of good things, Pete. You do a lot of good things. And, you know, he was just saying, he's like, Jay, I don't know, man. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know where I'm gonna go, man, after life, man. I just hope I go to heaven, man. I hope I go to heaven. Cause I don't want to go to hell, you know? And I'm just telling him, like, bro, you ain't going to hell. You know what I'm saying? As long as you believe in God and put God first before everything. Believe that he's your Lord and Savior. And he was telling me, he's like, Jay, I truly do believe. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. I'm like, bro, you're doing everything exactly how you should be doing it. So after that day, he was just telling me, he's like, bro, Jay, I'm gonna call you back, man. I'm about to go pray. And so he was telling me, I'm like, what you about to pray for? Me always being a nosy type of friend, you know, I'm like, bro, what you about to go pray for? He's like, bro, I just want to repent. Like, I just feel like, you know, when you just heard somebody just speak a good word to you, you just want to go pray about everything and make sure you're good. Phil always used to just pray and repent about his sins and that what he's done. And, you know, he repented, you know, and to that day, his girlfriend's telling me, Ryby's telling me, he's like, yo, Pete prays every day, man. He's going to church every Sunday now, Jay. Like, I don't know what got into him. I was like, bro, Christ, Jesus, he just believes, you know. And for him to be able to pass away a couple of days after was first made me angry, you know, made me angry at God, and to be able to be like, why would you take somebody away when they just started to believe? And then I thought to myself, I was like, maybe that was the whole point. You know, maybe that was the whole point on why he left, you know, because he believed he did everything that he needed to do and he achieved everything that he needed to do. There was nothing more. There was nothing more he could do. So he left his mark on everybody. Everybody. And I just want to say I appreciate all the condolences that you guys made from people, fans, family, to people that I didn't even think knew P2. Big entertainers. I appreciate you guys. He appreciates you guys. And, you know, I just want one thing for P is just to don't ever forget him. You know, don't ever forget him. Because he's done so much. He's done too much. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's all, man. I just wanted to just be able to say that, a couple words, to show that, you know, long live P2, man. Long live P2, man. Long live Phil.